They called him the King.
One cannot help but compare his adoration to a religion.
Elvis Presley, one of the most groundbreaking entertainers the world has ever known.
He looked like a Greek god. Some pictures of him made him look like he'd been sculpted by Michelangelo.
For more than 2 decades, he reigned over pop culture in a life that became the ultimate rags to riches story. From a childhood of grinding poverty to meteoric fame and controversy.
And preachers were literally breaking his records in the pulpit and declaring rock and roll the devil's music.
Wealth beyond his wildest dreams. But one of his greatest aspirations was thwarted.
It's the only place he was never given the opportunity to prove his talent.
His fairy tale marriage was fraught with issues.
His buddies virtually lived with him and her.
And beneath all the adulation, the King was plagued by self-doubt.
He said, "David, who am I?"
On the outside, Elvis seemed to have it all. But no one could stop him from self-destructing.
We broke down and cried because of the way he looked. We were afraid he wouldn't be around much longer.
Now the people who shared his life and followed his career reveal the man beyond the image.
Well, the image is one thing, and a human being is another, you know. So,
how close does it come? How close does the image come to the man?
It's very hard to live up to an image. I'll put it that way.
This is Elvis behind closed doors. Was it his blinding smile and flashing blue suede eyes, or those swiveling hips that got fans all shook up, or that voice that seemed to reach to the heavens? After more than 60 years as part of our collective conscience and 40 years after his untimely death, Elvis Presley still touches people around the globe. The Beatles' John Lennon put it best when he famously said, "Before Elvis, there was nothing." Exploding into the prim and proper 50s, his wild rock and roll hits thrilled teens and terrified parents. He went through a stunning transformation, going from the rebel bad boy to becoming a family-friendly Hollywood movie star. And always managing to stay on top, he triumphantly returned to the concert stage.
I just missed it. I missed the closeness of an audience, of a live audience. So just as soon as I got out of the movie contracts, I started to do live performances again.
You criticized so much for your long hair and your preparation, being so modest now.
Man, I was tame compared to what they do now. Are you kidding? I didn't do anything. We just jiggle, you know.
But within a few short years, on August 16th, 1977, the world hears the unthinkable.
This is NBC Nightly News with John Chancellor and David Brinkley.
Good evening. Elvis Presley died today. He was 42. Apparently it was a heart attack.
2 out of the 3 major network news programs went with Elvis's death as the lead. The one that didn't, they suffered in the ratings.
For Elvis's close friends, the news is a particularly searing jolt.
There are certain dates that we all remember if we are of a certain age. December 7th, 1941, when the Japanese were bombing Pearl Harbor. The day that John F. Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas. We knew where we were. And the day that Elvis died in 1977, I was on the air at KMPC in Los Angeles. And the newsman knew that I had a close relationship with Elvis. He said, I didn't want to just do this bulletin. I wanted you to be prepared. And so he told me that Elvis had died.
He was found at his home in Memphis, not breathing. His road manager tried to revive him. He failed. A hospital tried to revive him. It failed. His doctor pronounced him dead at 3 o'clock this afternoon.
When Elvis died, the news media broke into programming on the radio, on television, to actually announce this man had passed.
And I went in to get a hair trim, and somebody came bursting in and said, Elvis died. I said, what kind of a terrible joke is that? They turn on the TV, and sure enough, he had.
It was such a shock. He was one of those people like you thought was going to live forever.
Even though he didn't drink, smoke, or drive his own car, he quit breathing at the age of 42.
Over the next several days, Elvis's passing remains major news. For his most ardent fans, emotions reach a fever pitch at the funeral.
There were 80,000 people outside of that house, or more. Helicopters all over the sky trying to get the best shot. Mailbags stacked up 6 and 8 feet high from letters from all over, flowers all over the Grayson grounds. I was a bodyguard for Elvis Presley, so I was standing next to the casket as people came through to view the body. It was unbelievable. You know, I mean, you see people were so grief-stricken they had to be driven off the premises, and ambulances were taking people to the hospital right and left. I've never seen such an outpouring.
It's a send-off fit for a head of state. And no wonder, no other entertainer before or since can match his global accomplishments, selling both hundreds of millions of records and tens of millions of movie tickets, along with some of the highest-rated TV specials in the history of the medium. But it's his impact on society that some see as his greatest achievement.
He was this person who revolutionized music and who changed fashion and sexual mores. And, you know, he was such a revolutionary figure.
Elvis's life may end at his palatial Graceland estate, but it starts out in the most humble of circumstances. He's born on January 8th, 1935, to Vernon Presley, who does odd jobs around their hometown of Tupelo, Mississippi, and Gladys, a former factory worker.
Elvis was born in what they call a shotgun shack. You could open the front door and shoot a shotgun and go out the back door. They didn't have much.
But what should be the Presleys' happiest day is filled with both joy and tragedy. His twin brother is stillborn.
Gladys Presley always suffered that loss throughout her life. So I think that's why she cherished and protected Elvis the way she did.
And cherish him she does. They form a bond so close that neighbors notice.
And she would pick cotton with Elvis. As he got a little older and got some friends that she could trust, she allowed him some freedom to go and just be a kid and get in trouble with the other boys. But those very early years, he was never out of her sight.
One place that is truly a sanctuary for the Presley clan, their church, the First Assembly of God.
Elvis always said, I always had my mother and I always had the church. And he loved church because he loved to sing. That's where he got his chops, so to say.
Sensing her son's musical gifts, she buys him a guitar from the local hardware store for his 11th birthday.
He embraced that guitar. He was never without it again.
When Elvis is about 11 years old, the Presley family moves to East Tupelo, near a predominantly African-American neighborhood.
Well, Elvis was very colorblind. I mean, because when he was brought up, he was very poor, so he lived in that neighborhood. So he grew up in that environment. So he didn't look at people as, well, you're black or white, and those were his friends.
I remember his childhood friend Sam Bell telling me how they were out playing in the streets, and some of the sisters were rehearsing, I assume, for the choir, and he heard them, and he goes over to the window, and he's peering in, and the other kids are there with him, and these are all black children, who to them, this is nothing new. They've heard it all their life. But Elvis is hearing something new for the first time, and he's really drawn to it.
And while church remains a big part of his world, his mother makes sure that reading is also a priority.
They go into the Lee County Library and sign an application to get Elvis a library card. And she's given him the gift of reading, which he would always cherish. Elvis signs his name. Gladys signs her scrawl.
He's one of the few children in Tupelo who has his own library card. Meanwhile, Vernon also searches for better opportunities for the family. He moves them to Memphis, Tennessee, right before Elvis enters high school. They move to public housing, Lauderdale Courts. In Memphis, he listens to all kinds of music, from country and western to R&B and gospel. Naturally shy, he musters the courage to perform at high school events.
He learned that once he opened that mouth and began to sing, suddenly he had everybody's attention. He understood the power of his voice.
Elvis was attracted to the rhythm and blues, but he blended it with a rock and roll and came up with a rockabilly. And I think that, you know, he was just very soulful and had a lot of rhythm.
I remember my grandmother lived in the Lauderdale courts for a while, and she used to talk about this greasy-haired kid that would come and just sit on the stoops around the Lauderdale courts and play his guitar and sing. If you grew up in Memphis, you couldn't miss Elvis.
Rather than a typical student, he adopts a fashion style closer to Memphis R&B performers who frequent the Beale Street clubs.
Beale Street was a black man's street, and Elvis loved the music. He loved the vibe of the street. It was a hustle and bustle street.
I think he tailored himself after the cool black community dressing. The colors, the flash.
In the 50s, he loved black and pink color combinations, but back then, men really didn't wear pink.
He wasn't just different in the way he sang. He was different in the way he thought.
After graduating high school, Elvis gets a job as a machinist, but he's still performing every chance he gets. Elvis is enamored by the style of a single shop on Beale Street, Lansky Brothers, where R&B performers shop.
My dad saw this young kid looking in the window, and this young kid had grease back here, and he said, "Come on in, young man, let me show you around." And this young kid looked up and he said, "Mr. Lansky, I don't have any money, but one of these days I'm going to come in and buy you out." And my dad said, "Young man, don't buy me out, just buy from me." And this is what started the relationship. And this young man turned out to be Elvis Presley.
In the summer of 1953, the 18-year-old goes to the Memphis Recording Service and pays a $4 fee to make a record as a present for his mother. Co-owner Marion Kiesker is intrigued by his exotic look.
And she said, "Well, who do you sound like?" And he said, "I don't sound like nobody." And of course, he was 100% right on that.
Marion mentions him to her studio partner, Sam Phillips.
Sam Phillips passed on him, actually, but she kept the phone number of Elvis and the contact number. A lot of people talk about Sam Phillips, and he has his part in it. Don't get me wrong, but I think it's important to, of course, a lady's going to discover Elvis. Time went by. They wanted some guy to sing some ballad, and she said, "Well, what about that kid that came in?" So she called Elvis, and he came back in and auditioned for Sam Phillips. Sam Phillips wasn't that crazy about it. Got Scotty Moore to rehearse over at Scotty's house, and that's where they developed "That's All Right, Little Mama."
A revamp of a blues song by a complete unknown finds traction. And soon, the shy country boy will have to defend himself in the court of public opinion. By 1954, Memphis record producer Sam Phillips is working with a 19-year-old machinist turned truck driver, Elvis Presley, to hone his rockabilly style. That summer, Phillips has a plan to get him noticed.
I was morning man at WHBQ Radio in Memphis. We had a DJ by the name of Dewey Phillips, who played black music for white kids. That's the way it was at night in the mid-1950s.
Dewey Phillips, he was the DJ of the time. All the young people looked up to him because he was cool. I mean, I don't know how you would compare him today, but he was like the number one DJ, and people listened to his show religiously.
I happened to be at WHBQ Radio one night in July '54. I noticed the switchboard lit up on the telephones, and I couldn't figure it out. And I heard this commotion in Dewey's studio. Sam, who founded Sun Records, had walked in with an acetate. It wasn't even a phonograph record yet, just an acetate, a demo of a song he had cut early that day called "That's All Right, Mama" by Elvis Presley. And he gave it to Dewey to play on Red Hot and Blue. Dewey loved it. When he first heard that, he said, "Who in the world is this?" Because usually he played black artists. But he played it 7 times in a row. Dewey wanted to get Elvis to come down to the radio station because of all this commotion that was being created by him playing this recording. And they came into the control room, and that was the beginning of Presley Mania.
But Elvis is so nervous, Dewey has to think fast if he wants to actually get the young singer's first interview on the air.
Dewey put him in front of a microphone, and Elvis said many times in interviews and books over the years, he had no idea he was on the air. He just thought he was carrying on this conversation with Dewey Phillips. But Dewey interviewed him, and that was the first interview that Elvis ever gave. I met him that night. He became my friend and was my friend until the day he died. In fact, I'm the only living person who was in that control room that night. There was Sam Phillips, of course, Dewey Phillips, Gladys and Vernon, and myself, and Elvis.
Elvis's dream is to support his family one day, and now that could be coming true.
They lived in a housing project, and his mother was very simple. She had nothing, no fine clothes, no jewelry, and so he wanted to take care of his mom and dad.
Elvis starts touring the South and earns a nickname, the Memphis Flash. A local DJ and promoter thinks there's potential in the young singer and signs him in January of '55. That year, the promoter introduces Elvis to a former Carney Barker turned music manager, a man who receives an honorary rank of colonel from his state governor for political services, Colonel Tom Parker.
If you run a Carney, you're selling the unseeable, the invisible flea circuses. And so the combination of these two, Colonel Parker was a Carney who sold the unseeable. And with Elvis, he was very much seeable. He would always talk about, with Elvis, we have a product.
Several months later, Parker buys Elvis's contract from Sun Records and cuts that local promoter out of the picture. Shortly after, the Colonel lands Elvis a major recording contract with RCA Records.
Elvis was playing on the back of trucks in little towns like Gladewater and dives and beer joints. So I think Elvis probably gave Parker a lot of credit for that. And I think that was probably a lot to do with his loyalty factor. And he signed his life over to this manager, okay? And this manager wanted the top buck for him. It was his dancing bear, and he charged.
But Elvis trusted him, and it worked.
In 1956, Elvis has a #1 single with Heartbreak Hotel. Soon after, he'll cross paths with a clean-cut singer, Pat Boone.
I fortunately had an 11-month head start on Elvis. He was my opening act the first time we met. That night I was there waiting when Elvis came in with 2 or 3 of his buddies. And I said, "Hi, Elvis, I'm Pat Boone." He said, "Nice to meet you." And he just leaned back against the wall, and his buddies kind of closed in around him like he was shy or scared or nervous. And so I realized he didn't want to keep talking.
Boone embodies the all-American boy next door. Elvis's style seems anything but.
And he came out, and his hair was long, black, and greased up kind of, and the collar turned up, and long, a little bit too long pants, and some scuffed up white bucks.
Elvis kicks off with a country song.
And the kids, they liked the way he looked, but they didn't like that song, that kind of music. But he sang it, and they were polite.
Then he follows up with his more rocking track.
They loved that, and they wanted more, but that's all he had.
Elvis knows his look is equally important to his sound and frequents Lansky's every chance he gets. Young Hal Lansky grows up around his father's biggest customer.
He just started cultivating a look, and my dad loved to flip his collar up. Elvis would mix everything together, plaids and stripes, skinny belts, black and white shoes, but whatever Elvis put on, he looked cool in them.
January 1956. Elvis's distinctive look and sound are a breakout. He's catching on not just in the South, but nationally. His live performances send teenage girls into a frenzy.
The way he dressed, the way he moved, the way he danced, it was an all-encompassing, hypnotic experience, never to be forgotten. It was being caught up in a wave of rock and roll and fun.
17-year-old Kay Wheeler starts the first National Elvis fan club.
He would do anything for his fans. In fact, when I first met him in San Antonio, Texas, in April 15, 1956, he said, "Tell me what you want me to do." Very cooperative, very sweet, very grateful. Just always willing to sign an autograph, always willing to take a picture.
But while teens flock to his shows, some in the press attack him.
The Northern critics were a little snobby about Elvis. They looked down their nose at this Southern boy.
And because his gyrations are considered to be too risque, he causes an uproar in the national press.
When he plays Jacksonville, Florida, the judge puts some kind of clause that he cannot gyrate his hips on stage. And Elvis, being the genius that he is, when it comes time to do his famous swiveling, he just takes his little finger and does this. And the girls go ape. You know, it didn't have to be his hips.
The way he shook his hips, we'd never ever seen anything like that. So we needed a term to certainly describe something that we'd never seen before. Elvis the pelvis was what the media came up with.
He was breaking a lot of the rules and the taboos. He was the bad boy that the girls weren't supposed to associate with.
An off-the-cuff remark to a reporter compounds the issue.
And of course, he loved it when the girls screamed, and he wasn't oblivious to that. But I don't think he was trying to be lascivious. I think he just was really into his music. However, the moment came when he was being interviewed by some press, in which one of the questions was, when are you going to get married and settle down and have kids like Pat Boone? And he looked at the camera and gave it kind of that little lopsided kind of grin. He said, why should I buy a cow when I can get milk through the fence? Well, that sent shockwaves through a lot of America and reinforced the parents' ideas. We don't want you to bring home any records from that boy.
He was this Southern Baptist. None of that was contrived. You know, he didn't think, oh, I'm going to gyrate and, you know, turn the girls on. It just came naturally to him. That's how he grew up singing, and that's how he grew up expressing himself. So I think it hurt his feelings, really, that people found him to be kind of vile and kind of vulgar. That's not me. That's not who I am.
And in person, he's as far away as he can be from his juvenile delinquent media label.
One day, my dad looked up at Elvis. He said, Elvis, do me a favor. Don't call me Mr. Lansky. Call me Bernard. And Elvis looked up. Elvis, you know, had like a shy little grin. He looked up and he said, yes, sir, Mr. Lansky. Elvis's mom was the one that molded Elvis to be a Southern gentleman.
Ironically, the church that had inspired him and the clergy Elvis looked up to so much do not return that respect.
Preachers were literally breaking his records in the pulpit and declaring rock and roll the devil's music and encouraging their constituents to, you know, ban it, burn the records. This reporter asked Elvis what his take was on that, and he said, I don't see I'm doing anything wrong. I mean, I've been moving like this in church since I was a little bitty boy. I don't even know I'm doing it. He said, the only thing I worry about is I want the folks at home to be proud of me.
While many in the media and the church may not approve of Elvis, his fans do in a big way. Colonel Parker parlays his success to score a role for the young singer in the 1956 film Love Me Tender. Several songs are added for him. The movie is a hit. Elvis is now a bona fide star, but he hasn't lost his shy, humble qualities in the least. As Wink Martindale discovers when he has his friend on his TV dance party on July 16, 1956. It's one of his first TV interviews he ever does. Only parts have survived over the decades.
You have experienced a phenomenal rise to popularity, Elvis, in the course of a few months' time. How did you first feel when your records first started to be accepted by the people and bought by the public? Didn't you have a sort of a sensation?
Well, I tell you, Wink, it all happened so fast, and so I didn't even have time to think about it. Everything just
like that,
you know. And it just kept going, and it's still doing that way, and I can't even think about it. In fact, I don't even like to wake up in the morning. I'm afraid I might wake up.
But it might be all over.
I'm afraid I might be back driving a truck. Yeah.
During that interview, he said something I'll never forget. I said, Elvis, during your rise to fame and popularity, when you were in Humes High School, did you have any idea that you were going to reach such he cut in and he said, Wink, I didn't expect to get out of Humes High School.
How about the big show at Rustwood Park scheduled for July 4th? I believe the proceeds from this show go to the Cynthia Milk Fund. Is that right, Elvis?
Yes, sir, that's right. And I'd like to say let's see, what would I like to say? I'd like to say that we have a diamond ring that we're going to have as a door prize. It's my initial ring. I've had it for some time, and it has 14 diamonds in it. And we're going to give it away at the door as a door prize.
Elvis Presley, I want to thank you again because we know you're a busy man, and thanks a lot for coming by and seeing us at the dance party and saying hello to all your friends here in Memphis and the Mid-South. And anytime you're in town and want to come by, we certainly will welcome you.
Well, thank you very much, Wink, and I'll see you again.
Okay, thanks a lot. Elvis Presley.
That same year, Colonel Parker signs him to appear on 3 episodes of The Ed Sullivan Show for the unprecedented fee of $50,000, equivalent to over $400,000 in today's dollars. But despite the big payout, by the 3rd appearance, network censors insist he be shot from the waist up.
When you dance like that and you bump into your grind like that, of course, civilization and, the squares are going to call you Elvis the Pelvis. And that's okay. I mean, he was just letting all his feelings out in his music, and that's all right.
Gladys constantly reads news reports of fans mobbing her son, and she worries for his safety. In November of '56, Elvis fan club president Kay Wheeler goes to visit her at the first house Elvis buys his parents in Memphis on Audubon Drive. During the tour, Gladys proudly shows her everything from her idol's closet to his favorite teddy bear sent from fans.
If you were to ask me what was the aura about her, I think there was an aura of sadness. And it seemed to be a little bit troubling. You would expect his mother to be, in a normal scenario, very upbeat and happy and, polishing the Cadillac. It wasn't anything like that. I think she thought that there might be a derailment of Elvis somewhere out there. And I think she was concerned about that.
Elvis's success, the very thing that gives the Presleys a better life, takes him away from his devoted mother. Its unintended consequence will wreak havoc on the family. Welcome back to Elvis Behind Closed Doors. I'm Natalie Morales. Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll, has become a hot commodity in Hollywood. Between 1957 and 1958, he stars in 3 films: Loving You, Jailhouse Rock, and King Creole, all tapping into his bad boy mystique, but served up in a way that makes him more appealing to a broader audience.
They were just good, clean fun on a Saturday afternoon when my daddy would take me to the movie theater.
Kay Wheeler, his friend and president of the National Elvis Presley Fan Club, is on hand for the press premiere of Jailhouse Rock.
I noticed that he had lost his wild demeanor. By this time, Parker had started civilizing him, and starting to try to please the press, please society, make him more palatable to the parents and everything. And Elvis was not his cool king attitude that we had in Texas tours when he was doing that.
But there's no turning back to those days for the Colonel or his star.
There's no art form that's more respected than the movies in America, and now this was the path that Elvis Presley was going to conquer.
With huge payouts from film work, recordings, and Elvis merchandise, he can afford to buy a Memphis mansion called Graceland and installs his parents there. And that's not all his fame brings.
Well, Elvis was living every high school kid's dream. He suddenly could have anything and everything he wanted limitlessly. Tom Parker indulged him, everybody indulged him in anything and everything he wanted. And of course, the girls were everywhere, always available. I mean, it was a crazy kind of unreal existence, but he was living it to the fullest.
But Elvis is more than happy to share his good fortune, and not just with family.
And if you were in the store when Elvis was there, Elvis said, "You like this?" And he would buy it for anybody in the store. He was very generous.
He could buy Cadillacs and give them to his friends.
Geez, I really love that ring. And he would say, "How much you like it?" Well, my God, I would give anything I own for that. He said, well, you don't have to give anything you own. Here.
Elvis may be one of the most famous entertainers in the world, yet that doesn't stop the Army from sending a draft notice.
The draft board, it was right across the street from our store at the corner of Bill and Main, so my dad went over there with him. Elvis, he was a patriot. He wanted to go, he wanted to fight.
He said, we'll just put this, meaning my career, on hold for a little while, and I'll go do what I'm supposed to do, and that's serve. And that gives you some idea of the immense integrity that Elvis had.
While Elvis has a sincere desire to serve his country, his manager, Colonel Tom Parker, sees a stint in the service as a way to clean up his client's bad boy image once and for all. And Parker makes sure every second of the induction process is a media event.
Do solemnly swear. Do solemnly swear. That I will bear true faith and allegiance. I will bear true faith and allegiance. To the United States of America. To the United States of America. And that I will obey the orders. And I will obey the orders. Of the President of the United States. The President of the United States. And the orders of the officers appointed over me. The orders of the officers appointed over me. According to all regulations. According to all regulations. And the Uniform Code of Military Justice. The Uniform Code of Military Justice. Congratulations, you are now in the Army.
When he went into the Army, it was like this is the end of the world, and it was a terrible feeling. Right away, I changed my fan club into the Forever Elvis Club. We were going to wait for Elvis to come back from the Army. That was what our plan was.
Elvis Presley no longer has that rock and roll beat. The tempo is 1, 2, 3, 4 for Private Presley. He's at Camp Chaffee, Arkansas, beginning his 2-year Army hitch courtesy of the Memphis Draft Board. Like any ex-civilian raw recruit, the king of rock and roll will be keeping time to non-hip bugle calls. Involuntarily retired, a gyrating guitarist's departure from the public eye left his blue jean fans all shook up, so we hear.
It isn't just fans who can't believe the military is taking their idol away. Elvis's mother, Gladys, has already been worrying about her son's safety. And this makes matters worse. Her health has been on a downward spiral, and now she further deteriorates.
Gladys's relatives go to see her not long after moving into Graceland. Her cousin makes a remark about Gladys. You ought to be the happiest woman in the world. Look at this beautiful house. You've got everything you could ever want. And Gladys says, I was happier when we was poor and in Tupelo.
By August of 1958, the new recruit receives devastating news. His mother's health has taken a dramatic turn for the worse. He rushes to Methodist Hospital in Memphis to be at his mother's side. She passes away 2 days later.
When Elvis's mother died, as my dad would tell me, it was like the end of the world. And when she died, it was like a different Elvis.
Elvis is inconsolable. Fans mourn with him, sending more than 100,000 telegrams to Colonel Parker's office.
He was one of the few people I had met in life who really understood how important his mother was to him and the role that she played.
When she died, he made the comment that, how can I go on? I lived every day for you. He threw himself on the casket. As she lay open in state, he played with her hair.
10 days after his mother's death, Elvis must return to basic training at Fort Hood, Texas. After more than a year in the military, stateside fans are desperate for any contact from their favorite star. His friend, radio and TV personality Wink Martindale, is granted a rare overseas phone interview in 1959.
Listen, we're hearing a lot of rumors in the States these days about a certain Elvis and a certain German girl. Any truth to those rumors? And how do the girls over there compare to American girls?
Well, I couldn't give you any comparison, Wink. The only thing I can tell you is that I find that the girls here are a lot like the ones in the States. I get a lot of mail, people asking me about it.
But Elvis does meet a girl who captures his attention. A captain's daughter, 14-year-old Priscilla Ann Beaulieu. She makes a big impression on the 24-year-old soldier. As Elvis leaves Germany at the end of his deployment in 1960, Priscilla is there to send him off. Now a sergeant, Presley's Army days have finally come to a close, and he reflects on his experience.
Basic training wasn't hard for me at all. It was harder afterwards, after I had gotten into a regular outfit. Not the service itself, but just the surroundings, and I was in a strange land, and the outfit I was in, they had quite a bit of field duty. We stayed in the field 6 months out of the year. And it gets cold in Germany. It snows quite a bit. And it was pretty hard to adjust to.
One thing further on that, do you have any advice for the boys your age who are now going to have to put in a certain amount of duty in the service?
Well, the only thing I can say is to play it straight.
His arrival is big news.
At Fort Dix, New Jersey, Sergeant Elvis Presley is mustered out after 2 years of Army service. The rock and roll idol of millions is back on the scene. Among his greeters, Nancy Sinatra, daughter of another well-known vocalist. Elvis is glad as can be to be back and eager to start singing. He's also nearly interested in becoming a serious actor. The Army's loss may be the drama's gain. Who knows?
Elvis returns home as a hero. That rebel bad boy image seems to be a distant memory, and Colonel Parker has a plan to keep it that way. Adoring fans wait patiently for Elvis Presley, their idol turned soldier, to return from a 2-year tour of duty. He's back on American soil in March 1960, and his manager has the perfect way to reintroduce his star to the public.
Colonel Tom Parker was so smart. First thing he did was book him on the Frank Sinatra show.
But I remember him being very excited about doing that show.
There's a lot riding on this appearance.
He'd just come back from Germany. I mean, Elvis didn't know if he still had the it factor or not.
Frank Sinatra calls the program the Welcome Home Elvis Special. The newly returned star walks on stage in full military regalia, flanked by two of the day's biggest names in popular music, Frank Sinatra and Sammy Davis Jr.
Frank was trying to ingratiate himself with Elvis and his fans, and of course, Elvis was doing Frank quite well. He was back. I mean, he was back big.
For his duet with Sinatra, Elvis sports a sharp black tuxedo. Gone are his long rebel sideburns as well. And this TV special is just an appetizer to get audiences primed for the new Elvis.
We got into the Frank Sinatra type stuff, the movie contracts.
Elvis had done a couple of movies before he left for the Army, but now when he came back, this was the new big push. He was going to become a fully fledged American movie star.
His manager, Colonel Tom Parker, has Elvis embark on a full-time movie career, forsaking live concerts. He continues to make music, but it's now primarily soundtracks to his films that fans are scooping up.
The simple, quick, inexpensive film with a lot of songs in it had been a big moneymaker for Elvis and for the Colonel. And the Colonel was riding right along with that, so I think part of the Colonel's reasoning was, look, he's doing great with these simple, fun musicals.
By his mid-20s, Elvis is earning $5 million a year, about $40 million in today's dollars. While in Hollywood, the star looks for a place where he can unwind in private, he finds the perfect spot.
Elvis used to hang out at my dad's nightclub, The Crossbow. We had a balcony area and a staircase where he was completely safe. He could look down and watch the kids dancing, and it had a dance floor upstairs as well, so he could dance with Tuesday Weld or whoever he was dating at the time, and he could really enjoy himself.
One day, Elvis sees a picture of the owner's daughter, teenage dancer Sandy Farah, and the star wants to spend time with her.
And he promised my mom that he'd be a gentleman and take good care of me. And so Elvis said to my mom, you can come on the dates. He loved his mom so much that he was so respectful and so wonderful with my mother that he missed the feeling of having a mother there. And he used to talk to my mother a lot. So my mother, by then, she knew that he was wonderful. He was a gentleman. He was here to do the movie GI Blues. So we would eat pizzas and banana splits and watch television and dance.
Sandy lands a job as a dancer on several of his movies.
When we were doing the movies, he really talked to everybody. There was times in Roustabout, he was in awe of Barbara Stanwyck, and he would sit and have conversations with her.
But the teen understands that Elvis also finds fun in the company of beautiful starlets.
He dated a lot of women, and why not? He was a gorgeous man, and everybody loved him, and so why shouldn't he?
Sandy meets a rising young singer, Wayne Newton, and they casually date.
And then Elvis came into town the next day, and he had the newspaper sitting on the coffee table. And he said, who is this Fig Newton guy? And I said, oh, well, he's a friend, and I went to see his show last night. And he said, oh, okay. And that was, you know, the extent of what he had to say about that.
But a chance meeting on a flight gives him the chance to say a lot more.
All of a sudden, I hear, Wayne. And so I turned and looked, and there stood Elvis Presley. I said, oh, Mr. Presley, I am such a big fan. And he said, yeah, I like what you do too. He said, but he said, I got a question for you. And I said, sure. And he said, do you know a girl by the name of Sandy Farrah? And I said, well, yes, I do. As a matter of fact, we're dating. And he said, so are we. We both started to laugh. And it was almost a laugh that made everybody in the plane turn around to see what the heck we were doing. He said, probably we'll just keep her as a friend and neither one of us will date, you know. And we didn't. And from that point on, it was an instantaneous friendship.
If there's anyone on his mind romantically, it's the teenager he met in Germany, Priscilla Ann Beaulieu. The feeling appears to be mutual.
Priscilla wrote letters to Elvis. She missed him. Then eventually she did come to visit.
17-year-old Priscilla comes to live in Memphis and attends high school there. She's under the watchful eye of Vernon's new wife, Dee, who now lives at Graceland, along with her 3 sons.
And my mother was her chaperone, and I remember us taking her to school as a 17 and 18-year-old girl.
Even though she's a favorite date of Elvis, Sandy's aware that he spends time in the company of other ladies. She also sees firsthand the hold Colonel Parker has on his only client.
And I'm sitting there on the couch, and the Colonel came in with his big stogie cigar, and he just gave Elvis a look, and Elvis said, I'll be back. And he knew the Colonel wanted to see him, and he just respected him so much that he just, you know, anything the Colonel had to say, he had to go listen to.
And there's something else she notices about his lifestyle.
He'd have to come out here and be in his clothes for the movies. They wanted him to take a diet pill, which was speed. If you have to be on the set at 6 o'clock the next morning, you have to go to sleep. So then he'd take a sleeping pill. I flushed them down the toilet because I've always been into health and nutrition. I said, there's chamomile tea, there's a glass of warm milk, there's wine, there's so many things you can take to, you know, relax. And he kind of laughed at me and he said, Sandy, I know what I'm doing. It's prescribed by the doctor.
Elvis is churning out 2 to 3 movies a year. At the studio, he runs into the fellow former teen idol he had once opened for, Pat Boone.
Our dressing rooms were separated by an actor's dressing room, a guy you may have heard of named Cary Grant. And so We were renting places in Bel Air about 2 or 3 blocks apart. And he knew he was welcome, so he would just pop in. And our girls knew him, and they ran and started jumping up on him. And I said, "Girls, stop that." Just leave him alone, man. I like it. I like it. And he did. And I had the feeling that he really was wishing that he could have this home life that he had growing up.
In between films, Elvis goes back to Graceland and spends time with Priscilla, but they're often part of a big crowd of people at the mansion.
And Elvis was very much a non-trusting person. Now, when he did trust you, you were a part of his inner circle. I mean, that's the famed Memphis Mafia, as they were once called.
This group of friends and cousins are employed by Elvis and Vernon for a variety of tasks, from driving and organizing travel, security, to even working in his films as stuntmen. But they do much more than help the king take care of business.
So it was a very tight group, but that tightness of that inner circle was people that Elvis truly, truly trusted. He was comfortable around, he could let his hair down with. Because when you're a king, everybody wants something.
21-year-old Priscilla accepts the unusual lifestyle because she's deeply in love.
Life was not the two of them apart from others. She was part of the mix.
On May 1st, 1967, they wed in Las Vegas in an 8-minute ceremony. A happy day for the couple, but his adoring fans have mixed feelings.
Well, that's every fan's nightmare. I mean, Elvis can't get married. He's going to marry all of us. But I think first teenagers, we were getting older, we got over it. We were just glad he was going on with his life and that he had found somebody to marry and settle down with, and have a life himself, which he deserved.
9 months to the day after the wedding, they welcomed daughter Lisa Marie.
I was only 12 years old when Lisa was born, and I remember him going to the hospital and getting Lisa and then bringing her home and showing her off to the family.
Priscilla soon discovers that Elvis views her in a totally different light after the birth of their baby girl.
He had a special way of looking at a mother figure, period.
He just felt like once a woman had had a child, then she was to be revered and really put on a pedestal, in a very lonely position, though, because then she was sort of untouchable.
And according to his stepbrother, David Stanley, Elvis occasionally spends time in the company of other women.
Elvis loved women. I mean, Elvis had girlfriends. When he married Priscilla, after he married Priscilla.
A once storybook marriage is now on the rocks while Elvis confronts mounting career issues. By 1967, Elvis Presley has starred in 25 films and is the highest paid actor in Tinseltown. One of his producers, Hal Wallace, famously claims a Presley picture is the only sure thing in Hollywood. But in private, behind the glittering Hollywood premieres and strong soundtrack sales, Elvis feels that something is missing from his work on the silver screen.
I said, "Are you having fun doing motion pictures?" And he said, "Wayne, they've put me in a box." And I said, "What do you mean?" "I'm a rock and roller. I'm a rock and roll singer. And so everything has to be beach party or Hawaii or this or that. And they won't let me do anything of substance."
One movie after another, so many songs, so many little romances in the movies, and the story was not much different in each movie. I think he was starting to get thinking, because he was talented, that he could do more.
And he said, "I've studied it to the best I can, and I'm hoping that something will come my way that will give me the chance to digress from what the public thinks of Elvis Presley, the rock and roller, to maybe Elvis Presley, the human being, and the serious actor."
Out of all of his films, Elvis has a clear favorite, and the critics agree.
King Creole presented the most viable sort of vehicle for him to exhibit his acting skills. He always said, That was the best acting job that I had ever done. And in fairness, it was the best vehicle for him because, you know, you could be the greatest actor in the world, and if you're given schlocky scripts, then it's going to be a real challenge to exhibit your acting chops. So he felt stymied.
The Colonel just saw a winning combination and just wanted to stick with it. Why mess with something that's winning? What if he made a very serious film and it didn't work? What if he was not taken seriously as an actor?
He didn't have script approval, and he did 3 films a year, $1 million a picture. And, you know, Colonel was more about the bottom line. You get $1 million a picture, son, here's the script, just do it. And Elvis felt really violated, really, after a while. And he said, you have no idea how difficult it was for me to sing to a bull or to sing to the wall.
He did want people to respect him as a serious actor.
Well, that was a big disappointment. In fact, it occurred to me eventually, and I asked him, you take pictures with your fans, but you're never smiling. He said some famous actor advised him not to smile when he took pictures, but to look really serious. I think his natural inclination would have been to smile. And I have seen a picture or two, but not many. So he really wanted to be taken seriously as an actor.
That, unfortunately, never happened. It was a heartbreak for him. It's the only place he was never given the opportunity to prove his talent.
But there's another part of the movie business that troubles him.
And I said, what's the major difference between doing a motion picture and being on stage live? And he said, there's no comparison. I don't know, at the end of the day, how I did. And I won't see how I did for probably another year. By the time they finish editing, when I'm on stage, I know immediately if I screwed up. And so if I had to give up one or the other, there'd be no question in my mind. I would give up the motion pictures to be on stage live.
While the movies may be losing its luster for the star, he is still the undisputed king of movie soundtracks and ruling Hollywood. But in the mid-late 60s, the music scene is going through a dramatic transformation.
We got the Beatles, we got the Stones, you know, we've got Led Zeppelin, you know, breaking onto the scene. We got the big rock and roll bands out there. The British invasion had dominated. And Elvis was, I would say, all but forgotten. Of course, I got to be careful when I say that because Elvis fans would say he was never forgotten. Maybe he took a back seat for a few minutes.
The standard attire for this new breed of rock stars, blue jeans. They're the latest fashion craze, but not for Elvis.
His mom and dad, they went to the secondhand stores and they bought him blue jeans, and that's all he could ever afford to wear to school. But he hated to could not afford anything but blue jeans. So once he became famous and once he had money, he said, I will never, ever wear blue jeans again in my life. You will never catch me in a pair of blue jeans. I never, in 4.5 years, saw him in a pair of blue jeans.
It's now time for the king to head back to the recording studio to do a brand new album rather than a movie soundtrack. But he doesn't go the pop or rock route.
He got the opportunity to expand to the real kind of music that he loved doing, including gospel.
In 1967, he releases a new record, the gospel classic, How Great Thou Art. It's music that's part of Elvis's DNA.
And that was his favorite music. Elvis was very much a spiritual believer. He sang gospel because that was his way of giving the gift back. God gave me the gift, therefore I'm going to give it back.
Gospel had a very important role in Elvis's life. And I honestly think there was an ongoing battle inside to whether he should be an evangelist or a rock and roll singer. And I think he sort of came to some sort of reconciliation that he could be a bit of both, that through his music, he could touch lives.
The record strikes a major chord with listeners.
What other musician like that did you see bringing gospel songs? How Great Thou Art, he would sing that. It was amazing. And I think that was a part of the bedrock.
I don't think he ever quit seeing himself simply as an instrument of God. One of his concerts, some girl in the back shouts, "Elvis, you're the king." And he said, "No, honey, he's the king. I'm just a singer." So I think it's really quite appropriate that the only Grammy he would win would be for his gospel.
It's a big boost to Elvis's music career and, more importantly, his morale. A few months later, the Colonel signs Elvis to star in a music special for NBC.
The 68 comeback special for Elvis was a major deal.
Colonel Parker had the idea to bring Elvis back with this big, traditional, old-fashioned Christmas special.
But Elvis and the show's producers want an entirely different concept.
Elvis wanted something edgy. Elvis knew that he could come back and play it safe. Do a Christmas special, do something really warm and cozy. He didn't want to do that. He had no interest in being conventional.
When he did the 68 special and sat on that black stage in that black outfit and that red guitar, I mean, he really established himself.
He wanted to break the rules. Elvis knew he was sexy. Elvis knew that what made him different to everybody else was his sex appeal, and he wasn't scared of that.
This time, the Colonel doesn't prevail. The special features elaborate sets and production numbers, all featuring Elvis's smoldering sensuality. Then segueing into Elvis Unplugged, playing the guitar and singing.
He filmed it at Burbank, but when it came on television in December, we were at Graceland, and the family was all sitting around, and, you know, he was particularly interested in what I thought and what my brothers thought, because we were not Elvis fans. We loved him as a big brother. And I said, Elvis, that was incredible. That's absolutely incredible. Then he looked at all the guys and he said, I've been wrong for so long, but I'm right tonight.
The special pulls in a massive audience, becoming the year's most watched program. Elvis the rock star is back with a vengeance, but within a few years, the attention he'll get won't be for his music. By 1969, Elvis Presley shoots his last Hollywood movie, Change of Habit, and pivots back to the part of entertaining that has always given him the most joy, performing live in front of a packed house. In the summer, he headlines a 4-week Las Vegas residency. It's the hottest ticket in town.
So before Elvis, we had the crooners on the Strip. Frank Sinatra, very, very stylish, beautiful, great traditional songs. Elvis brought sex to Las Vegas. He knew how to shake his hips, get girls there to scream at him, and he turned Vegas overnight into this adult pleasure palace.
After people had thought that perhaps Elvis is passé following the Beatles, wasn't so.
He seems to be having the time of his life, having fun with the audience and celebrities who flock to see him.
He said, "Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Wayne Newton," and everybody screamed, right? And Elvis and I laughed about that continually, off and on.
But beneath the laughter, Elvis is dealing with a very real spiritual hunger.
His show was a triumph, of course. And then I went back upstairs to the penthouse to visit with him between shows. And he took me back in this big walk-in closet. He says, "I wish I could go to church like you do." He says, "I miss that." I said, "You can. Why don't you?" He says, "No." He said, the kids would be wanting autographs. I'd distract from the preacher, and they'd be looking at me instead of him. And I said, "You don't think that's happened to me?" "Yeah, that's something you have to work out." But he just felt he couldn't.
While he struggles with this spiritual aspect of his life, he's dealt a personal bombshell. His wife, Priscilla, has her own struggles with their unconventional lifestyle. And after close to 5 years of marriage, leaves with daughter Lisa Marie. Eventually, they divorce.
We talked about marriage and things like that, and I knew how he felt about it. When he got married, it was going to be for life, because he was brought up very religiously.
I learned from Priscilla later, when she visited with us in our home, what she said then to us was that his buddies virtually lived with him and her. So the family life was not the two of them and their child. And she said, and I come out in my pajamas, and there he is, and the guys are playing pool. "Hey, hi, Priscilla." It's like I'm walking into a boy's dorm. And so that wasn't really the way that most families build relationships. It was always his buddies and his wife and his child, and then the help.
Girls were always throwing themselves at him. She wanted a normal kind of a marriage, but Elvis was Elvis, and that was not ever going to be a normal lifestyle.
While he is facing personal pain, he does not let it interfere with his nonstop career. Elvis is hotter than ever. During the next several years, he also heads out for a string of successful concert tours across the country, making show business history with 4 consecutive sold-out shows at Madison Square Garden in June 1972. To mark the event, he conducts a rare press conference.
We were at the Hilton of Avenue of Americas, and Elvis had on a blue suit, he had on a gold belt. I mean, he looked like, you know, Elvis, and nobody looked like that. I mean, the guy's charisma and magnetism was unprecedented.
Mr. Presley, I hear from a lot of people in the press corps that you really are a shy, humble, wonderful human being. Would you agree with that?
Oh, I don't know what makes them think that. You know, this gold belt and the...
I'm reminded of the Ed Sullivan shows where they wouldn't shoot
So am
that
I.
low.
That's why I'm sitting down.
Why do you think you've outlasted every other entertainer from the 50s and, for that matter, the 60s as well?
I take vitamin E.
Then the questions take a more serious tone.
And somebody else asked him another question about the image.
Well, the image is one thing, and a human being is another, you know. So...
How close does it come? How close does the image come to the man?
It's very hard to live up to an image, I'll put it that way.
Mr. Presley, on the subject of this service, what is your opinion of war protesters, and would you today refuse to be drafted?
Honey, I just seem to keep my own personal views about that to myself, because I'm just an entertainer, and I'd rather not say.
Do you think other entertainers should keep their views to themselves, too?
No, I can't even say that.
And Colonel Parker is on hand to orchestrate the entire proceeding.
Tell us a chance. Come on through here.
Elvis draws rave reviews for the New York dates, but a few weeks later, David Stanley, his stepbrother turned bodyguard, gets press that's far from positive.
I'm fresh out of high school, dropped out to go to work for Elvis. We were in Evansville, Indiana, just at a small 6-story hotel. I was in my room and I heard Elvis, 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 and screaming fans, and I opened the glass door and I said, oh, shut up, you know, I'm trying to get some sleep here. The next day, there's a newspaper sitting on the table, and Elvis says, do you want to explain this? He goes up to the newspaper, stepbrother belligerent to fans. I said, well, they were yelling and screaming. And he lit me up like a firecracker. Don't you dare, don't you ever talk down to those fans. Our jets, our homes, our lives, our families are all dependent on those fans.
This and illegal drugs are the 2 things Elvis won't tolerate in the Memphis Mafia.
Didn't talk to me for a week, so I learned the hard way. Elvis loved his fans because they made Elvis Elvis.
But as David also learns, it's far from never having a good time on the road.
We're doing 6, 7 tours a year. If you'd be sitting on the plane and down and out and dragging, he'd say, you know, if you can't wake up and have fun, we would send you right on home. When Elvis was up, everybody was on top of the world. There was nothing better.
But injuries from karate training and a host of other health issues are beginning to take a toll. Elvis's former girlfriend, Tennessee beauty queen Linda Thompson, notices all his medicines.
I just very innocently remarked, oh, have you been sick? And he said, no, why, honey? And I said, well, what are all those prescription bottles on your nightstand? And then he stammered, as Elvis was wont to do, you know, like, yeah, honey, I had a little throat thing, but it's cleared up now. So he didn't want me to know right away that he had a dependence on sleeping medication. And of course, that leads to, if you're a performer and you've got thousands of people waiting to hear you sing and you're groggy, that led to uppers and downers and, you know, sleeping medication, pain pills. So it was a vicious cycle.
She's at his side for one of his biggest career moves to date. The world's first satellite entertainment broadcast. Aloha from Hawaii, January 1973.
He knew it was going to reach that many people and it was going to be live via satellite, first satellite show, first split screen, you know. So he started to prepare for it. He really took it very seriously. And, you know, he looked great. I mean, he still was very fit. When I first met him, he was 36, 37 years old, young, handsome, fit. But he wanted to be like super cut, super fit. So he went on a 500-calorie-a-day diet. It was prepackaged food, and I would make him this Jell-O without sugar. It was very funny because he loved to eat, and I'd bring him the food, and we'd sit in bed, and he'd look at the Jell-O and just go, okay, I'll have some more of this Jell-O because that's all I can have right now.
His training and intense rehearsals pay off, and the broadcast draws an unprecedented worldwide audience.
It reached 1.2 billion people. It was the most widely viewed show ever in the history of television. It's pretty astonishing that he had the energy after only 500 calories a day to perform and to do so incredibly.
According to Thompson, their relationship deepens and the two become inseparable, and she is there to support him through good times and bad.
I was in the hospital with Elvis multiple times when he would be hospitalized for exhaustion, pneumonia, but typically it was because he had abused himself and was exhausted.
But as the relationship continues, she sees how the star's worldview impacts their future together.
He did have a lust for life, and he hungered for more, always. I don't think that any one woman could have ever kept him satisfied. He loved food, and he didn't like to eat just a little food. He wanted the whole platter of food. Whether he ate it all or not, he wanted it in front of him. So he had this huge appetite for life, for food, for women.
But by his birthday in January of 1975, Elvis is stung by the press, referring to him as fat and 40.
Well, to have been the cutest guy that ever lived on the planet, and all of a sudden, you know, they're making fun of him.
He did hear about the fat and 40 comment. It hurt his feelings so much, and he was so insecure about turning 40 and feeling fat that he got a very quiet little facelift. I went to the hospital with him again for that.
As the late 70s loom, Elvis's mood and health take a darker turn, even as those in his inner circle desperately try to turn things around. Welcome back to Elvis Presley Behind Closed Doors. I'm Natalie Morales. In the mid-70s, Elvis Presley is still in high demand on the concert circuit. To make traveling easier, he buys a large jet that is transformed into what is best described as a flying home. He names it the Lisa Marie after his young daughter. But even the star himself is humbled by what this purchase signifies.
It was now living rooms, dining rooms, bedroom, stateroom.
Elvis's stepbrother David and the rest of the extended family head to a Memphis airport to help christen the new aircraft.
And the plane pulled up and Elvis fell to his knees. He was so overwhelmed. And then he just looked at his dad crying and said, "We've come a long way, Dad." The jet was bigger than the house that Elvis was born in.
Yet despite all his material wealth, he can't shake the feeling that something's just not right.
He often complained about feeling intensely lonely at heart. We'd be sitting in bed at Graceland, and he'd flip to the monitor of the gate, and it's, "Look at all those throngs of people down there, honey. All those people love you." He said, "No, they love Elvis Presley on the marquee. They love who they think Elvis Presley is. They don't know me."
And he is still troubled over his career path, guided by Colonel Parker.
He wanted to perform for his fans around the world. What Elvis relayed to me was that the Colonel told him, "Son, I can't protect you over there." And he had an opportunity to do A Star is Born with Barbra Streisand and John Peters, and that didn't come to fruition. So I think that Elvis was very frustrated. His sense of loyalty and devotion to him superseded wanting to get rid of him, so he kept him on.
And if serious career disappointments aren't enough, he's plagued by a host of health issues.
And his fingers were kind of deformed from breaking the boards and the bricks. And so then he got pain. And then with the pain, you need pain pills.
He went from 2 or 3 sleeping pills a night to 6 or 7, 8 to 12, and the counteract to wake up the next day.
Along with chronic sleep problems, the superstar's declining health impacts his ability to perform.
He called me, he said, "You haven't been over to my show." And so I said, "I'll be over tomorrow night." And he was having a particularly hard time breathing that night. And he actually laid down on stage in front of the band, had them play an instrumental for him to just be able to get his breath back. And I sat there in the booth with tears running down my face.
RCA had a contract. They were ready for him to do an album. In '76, he was having some very difficult days, canceling shows, slurring words, bad reviews. Still had an incredible voice, but RCA had to do something, so they brought the truck out to Graceland and set up the studio there. And Moody Blue, went on to be a hit record.
According to Thompson, after more than 4 years as his constant companion, trying to get him on a healthier path, Linda sees her efforts are in vain. She leaves the relationship, and she's not the only one who tries to talk to him about his growing prescription drug use.
The mindset of Elvis Presley was if a doctor prescribed it, then it must be okay. But when you confront Elvis about medication, he'd let you know about it. These are my medications. I need these.
His good friends see a changed Elvis. In December 1976, Sandy Farah, now married to TV personality and mutual Elvis friend Wink Martindale, are invited to his show in Las Vegas.
He wanted us to come back to his dressing room between shows. Just a fantastic show, great performance. And we look forward to talking to him because we haven't talked to him in quite some time.
I saw him and he was so overweight and he was perspiring. And I knew inside there was the Elvis that I knew, but it didn't look like the Elvis that I knew. And he said, "Don't go, I want you to stay." We had a little house in the Palisades at the time, and I thought, maybe we can help him, Wink. Maybe we can get him on a good diet. And so we really wanted to do something. So I wrote him this letter, and I said, "You can stay with us, and nobody will know you're there."
When we got back to our hotel, we closed the door, and we broke down and cried because of the way he looked, because we could tell that we were afraid he wouldn't be around much longer.
I never did get a response to that letter. It broke my heart. I can't even talk about it without wanting to cry now because it's so sad.
Fellow Vegas veteran Wayne Newton recalls another instance where Elvis is no longer the easygoing friend he's known for so long.
I was waiting in his dressing room, and he said, "Come on, let's go in the back." I had no idea what this was about because it was kind of a little bit out of the things that we usually did. And he said, "I've been through a lot more than you have. You're married and you've got a young daughter, and you're working too hard." And he said, "You're not spending enough time with your daughter." And he was so upset that he thought I might go down that same road. And I actually missed my second show that night. And we sat and talked for almost 4 hours.
July 1977, fellow entertainer Pat Boone runs into his old friend by chance at the Memphis airport. It's a meeting he won't forget.
I smacked him on the tummy. I said, "Hey, you carrying your money in here? You going to lose all that in Las Vegas?" I've been eating too good. He said, "I'll lose it in Vegas." He said, "Where are you going?" I said, "Orlando." He said, "Orlando? That's the wrong way, man." And he turned his buddy, says, "He's always going the wrong way." And so I said, "Well, it depends on where you're coming from." And it was kind of a wry commentary on our images.
A few weeks later, Elvis is beyond devastated when a few of his closest confidants in the Memphis Mafia, fired by his father Vernon, release a tell-all book detailing the star's drug use and romantic conquests. This wounds Elvis to the core, but some in the inner circle see both sides of the controversy.
When Red and Sonny West were let go, they felt betrayed. Imagine how they felt. They dedicated their lives to this guy. They were very tight.
They were all bodyguards, and Elvis did trust them with his security, with his life. So it was very difficult. I'm not saying that the circumstances under which they were fired were fair. I didn't feel that they were. to be honest. So I understood their anger, their frustration, their hurt. I was with Elvis when we found out that a book was forthcoming. He was angry, he was devastated, and he was frightened because to that point we had always protected his drug abuse, and he knew that this was going to come to light. People ask me today, do you think the guys really cared about Elvis? And I say absolutely, to a man. I know that Red West adored Elvis, and I know that Elvis loved him, which probably made Red's decision to write the book even more difficult, made Elvis's reaction to it, you know, to burn deeper into him than anybody else's, because he and Red were so close.
He fired them the way he did, and then all of a sudden they decided to write a book called Elvis, What Happened?, which exposed Elvis's drug use and other things. That was more than Elvis could take.
David and the rest of the world will soon discover that their time with the king is drawing to a close. August 14th, 1977, stepbrother and bodyguard David Stanley is preparing to get Elvis ready for another engagement. It isn't easy.
We'd been canceling tours, we'd been canceling shows.
He heads into Elvis's Graceland bedroom and finds him surrounded by books on spirituality.
He was reading his Bible, and he said, "David, who am I?" And I said, "Well, you're the king." He said, "No, there's only one king." He held the Bible up. He said, "Come over and sit next to me." And I sat down next to him, and he looked so sad. He really looked just so defeated and so empty. I mean, the spark was gone. He patted me on the back and he said, "Stand up with me." And he looked at me with those piercing blue eyes and said, "David, I want you to know something. I love you, but the next time I see you, we'll be on a higher place in a different plane." And I thought he had read something like that. And I looked at him back and I said, "No, Elvis, the next time I see you, we'll be on the Lisa Marie, his private jet, on the 16th. And he just nodded and sat back down. And I said, "I love you." And I said, "I love you too." I looked at him, I said, "Boss," he said, "the 16th, David, the 16th.
But the next day, as he drives to Graceland, there's an ambulance racing through the gates ahead of him.
As I went through the house, I ran up the steps and I ran into the bathroom, and Vernon was moaning, that old Southern moan, like I'll never forget that sound of him just crying. Vernon took my hand and put it on Elvis's leg. "David, my son is dead. He's left us. Bring him back." I mean, it was horrible.
Paramedics try to revive him, then take him to the hospital to see if anything can be done. But Elvis Presley can't be revived. The world's most famous personality is dead.
We loved him so much it hurt, and there was nothing more dark in our lives than the day we lost him.
His one-time love, Linda Thompson, is now living in Los Angeles and is unaware of what's going on.
The phone rang, and it was Lisa Marie. And she said, "My daddy's dead, my daddy's dead." He's smothered in the carpet, they told me, and I threw the phone across the room. There were so many times in the years that I had been with him when I would find him in a compromised position where his airway may have been cut off had I not gotten there sooner. And my brother took the phone from her and said, "You need to come home." It was a devastating blow, but to this day, I am so honored and it's so heartwarming to me to think that this little 9-year-old girl knew who her daddy loved and who loved her daddy.
Fans and friends of the superstar are in shock when the news of his passing breaks.
And all of a sudden, it started to rain in the heart of Beverly Hills, which rain wasn't even expected. And it was raining. It was kind of like the sky was crying. I mean, that's how we felt when that happened.
Vernon Presley had called me because he said that when I talked to him, he said, "You're one of the true friends that Elvis had and loved." And he said, I want you to hear it from me. And he said, "I only ask one thing, Wayne." He said, "Would you do If I Can Dream on stage tonight as a tribute to Elvis?"
And just as they had clothed him during his life, Lansky Brothers provided the suit for his public viewing at Graceland.
Well, we were at a trade show, and we took the next plane back into Memphis. So we all went out the house. And Elvis was laying there in his casket. The whole world was in shock. We couldn't believe the outpouring of love, the flowers. Oh, my God, the flowers.
It was my turn to walk up, to say goodbye before they closed the casket. And I'll never forget, I just walked up to it, and I just looked at him. And I thought about a 4-year-old boy who didn't have any idea, I'm so sorry, had any idea of what was happening in his life. And Elvis gave me 17 years of his. It was dark, and it was sad, and it was 40 years ago, but it's like yesterday to me.
And the funeral service itself, all white limousines, a white hearse, which I thought was so fitting because he was like this white, bright light in the world.
This funeral was probably one of the most elaborate the public had ever seen.
It was almost like a dignitary had died.
Years after his passing, one of his handwritten notes goes on the auction block, and his good friend Wayne Newton buys it.
I wrote a song around it. It's simply called The Letter. And I'm paraphrasing probably a little bit now, but the letter says, I am so alone tonight. I wish I could sleep. I probably will not be able to sleep. I'm glad that they're all gone now. And all I can say is help me, Lord. Well, I obviously teared up. I mean, it's still today tough for me to talk about. But as I read what he had written, I took it to a different place. And I believe it's the place that Elvis was coming from when he wrote it. He wasn't doing it out of desperation. He was doing it and saying those things because he realized that he isn't alone. So he was reaching out to the one being that had never let him down.
Elvis never wanted to let his fans down. The passing of 4 decades since his death cannot extinguish the love they feel for the man who gave them so much.
It's really hard to actually put a number on how many records Elvis sold. The closest estimates that I found are 1 billion. That is way ahead of anybody else.
Today, the Presley Birthplace Center in Tupelo, Mississippi, draws thousands of visitors a year. Graceland in Memphis earns a National Historic Landmark designation in 2006. More than 20 million people have toured the property. And posthumously, the honors continue.
Elvis Presley is the only person in history to be installed into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the Country Hall of Fame, and also the Gospel Hall of Fame. This has never, ever been done, and probably never will be.
It's estimated that today, Elvis Presley-related material brings in $55 million a year. But behind the hundreds of songs and scores of movies he shared with the world, there will always be the man behind the image.
After Elvis's death, so many so-called friends were writing books that were derogatory in many ways to Elvis. So I thought, I've got to express my own feelings about Elvis in a positive sense, because he did so much for so many people, charitable and otherwise, and I wanted that to be known. And so I sat down and composed a narrative that I titled, That Was Elvis to Me. And I went into a studio with a big orchestra and voices, and I recorded it. And I'm very proud of it to this day. And it was just my way of saying, this was the Elvis that I knew.
I mean, there's that sympathy for somebody who dies young, and you wonder what would his potential have been.
I always like to tell Elvis fans to love him, love his music, love his family, love his accomplishments, the way he made you feel. But can you love the guy we loved? Could you love the guy who was hurting? Could you still love him?
It's an important thing to remember that no matter how famous and how powerful and how celebrated an individual is, we do them a tremendous disservice by placing them on a pedestal and not allowing them to be human. We are all human, and sometimes the higher up on the pedestal, the farther they have to fall. It's just not fair to them. Everyone should be allowed to be human and to be subject to human fallibility, and Elvis certainly was.
I was asked once what I really thought of Elvis Presley. And this was not a cliche. I said, he is the finest soul and human being I have ever known. Elvis didn't perform for money. He performed because he loved what he was doing, and he loved the look on people's faces when he was doing it.
Larger than life, even in death, Elvis Presley remains a global pop culture icon. Many of the people you've heard from over the last 2 hours agree on one thing. 100 years from now, people will still be listening to the King. I'm Natalie Morales. Thanks for watching.